This is Ziggy Haim, and you are listening to Wrestling Cheers.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. See that troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
And welcome back to Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're Grave Digger number 2. This is Wrestling Cheers, where we like to talk about things in the Northeast Ohio independent wrestling scene. We preview shows, we review shows, and sometimes we even have interviews along the way. This is an interview with Ziggy Haim. I'm your host, Justin Summers, and Wrestling Cheers is brought to you by Midwest Territory. Please rate, review, and subscribe your Evan Listen's fine podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose to desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. Like I said, this is an interview with Ziggy Haim, and I have her on the line. Ziggy, welcome back to the show. Technically, Jinx was here, but tomato.
It's been a while, but yeah, I'm back. Hello, thank you for having me.
And it's crazy just to think of like the road you've gone on since like you were last on. Obviously, with the name change, debuting in AIW, and even too just changing the name to Ziggy Haim. And you actually mentioned kind of in the last interview that one of the biggest issues with Jinx was you couldn't. Oh, Jesus.
Oh. Hello.
My cat was on the soundboard.
On the music board.
He stepped on the soundboard because he's like, right as we were starting to record,
Incredible.
Right as we were starting to record, he's kind of like, I want loves, pet me, pet me, pet me. So I did the whole intro just like petting him. And yeah, of course he...
Yeah, when we were on call, my cat like decided for the first time that she wanted to go in like the window next to me in my office. I was like, oh, hello, okay, enjoy. But that's hilarious. But you may go on now.
But anyway,
your cat needed to interrupt for a second. He said, I need you to recognize that I'm here. Okay, now you can go on.
The funny thing too, he's not like a really big meower, like meowing a lot. Like, so obviously sometimes like if he wants attention or something, like in another room, like he will do it. But like when he's in here, he doesn't like, he's not like one of the meow right in the mic. Like he's just
gets in your face.
Yeah. Then that's kind of like, I'm telling you, literally as I was like, all right, let's start. He's just like,
cats are something else. Cats are truly something else.
I used to not really be a cat person.
I don't know. I've always been a huge animal person, more of a dog person than anything. Mm-hmm. But I got my cat Furby I've almost had her for a year. I got her in December of last year, and I'm obsessed with this creature. I just think that she is so strange, and cats are so weird, and I'm just used to having dogs at this point now that I'm just like this strange little goblin creature that lives in my house. I love her. Just love her.
Yeah, I was always a dog person, and then we ended up getting cats, or like should say when me and my wife got together and moved in, like she brought her cat with her. Unfortunately, like that cat got had to be put down like 5 months into us living together. But we ended up getting another one with about a month later. And I mean, now, and also too, we adopted another one beginning of 2021. And I've become more of a cat guy.
I love cats. I totally get it.
I used to like kind of make a joke, especially like when I was getting into independent wrestling and like learning more about the wrestlers and like their personality and like what kind of animals they have. Like I noticed like so many wrestlers were like cat people. And I thought that was...
They're also easier to take care of. You don't have to like, have someone take care of them on the weekends for you.
I did not think about that, but that is so true.
I think that's why a lot of wrestlers are cat people.
Sometimes I thought it was like, it could be like just a cat's personality where
That's also very true. I think like a lot of wrestlers in general as people are cat people, but also cats are a little more self-sufficient, and we're not known for being good at like taking care of many things at a time. So
that's almost like when I went to LVAC when I did the Real Rumble this year. I decided like, all right, you know, I've been really wanting to go. I had the perfect weekend to go. So me and my wife went, and we took our dog with us because it's like, oh, you know, we're going to be camping. We're going to be at a drive-in. Like this is fine for her.
Right.
And then like we're gone for the weekend. All right, cat, you got food. Glitter's clean. Your water's good. All right. Back on Sunday.
That's all they care about.
Yeah.
That's all they care about. And then you come back and they're like, hey, what's up?
For us, sometimes it's not like, hey, what's up? Like sometimes they're a little like.
No, my cat gets peeved at me. I do understand that actually. The more I think about it, my cat does get like, she's more bitchy whenever I'm gone for a while. She's sassy with me, so I get that. You're right.
It's like they're punishing you.
Absolutely.
Like I can't believe you left me. And then eventually they're like, all right, we're good. I need my food.
Right. Yep, exactly. You fill up their food bowl, give them more water, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine.
All right. Before my cat really changed up the beginning of what this podcast was going to sound like.
Yeah. Anyway.
So.
Not the cat podcast.
That could be really fun. But yeah, you changed the name, and partially you do mention in the previous interview that, you know, part of it was vanity search because you could hardly vanity search Jinx.
Right. Absolutely. That was a big part of it.
And just the complete metamorphosis, because I feel like after the name change like that, it kind of freed you a little bit to where like you didn't exactly know what Ziggy Haim was going to be. So it's just things went crazy. And I think that, and I mean crazy in a good way, of like just throwing shit up against the wall and experimenting. And you've grown so much. Yeah.
Thank you. I kind of feel that. And I'm thankful that I do sort of have like the two parts of my career. And the first part is just like kind of the beginning era of what I was. It is kind of nice to have like two parts, but definitely I'm glad that I did it, especially like for vanity search reasons. I think that is super important in this era. But yeah, it definitely took off from there. That was a really good stepping stone for my confidence, I think.
And it's crazy too, like before, like you've said that you were hardly ever like wrestled in Ohio. You had like pretty much one company that you would go to sometimes, and then like I know you did OCW I think once. So it was like it was rare, and now you're here every month. In during the summer, so what, like June, July, August, almost into September, I was in AIW specifically 14 times. Wow. So yeah. Definitely. And coming back and forth from Pittsburgh, just that has to add up, and like not only just miles, but like the toll.
Oh my God, the toll's insane. The toll's absolutely insane. You really have to pay attention to it. But yeah, I don't mind the drive itself, but as far as like the tolls and the mileage and everything like that, that is a pain in the ass.
You said recently that the Turnpike is a simulation.
It is, absolutely.
What exactly do you mean by that?
It just never feels real. Especially like the Ohio Turnpike, always there's just like some weird shit going on, or you're completely alone, no one else is there, and it's kind of terrifying. Like there's no other option. It's just a really weird place to be.
I can kind of see that, but I mean, not even just Ohio. There's parts of Pennsylvania, but it's more when you get not past Pittsburgh, but depending on which way you were going. But like if you are east of Pittsburgh, like between that and Harrisburg, it's like
also a very strange area to be in. Yeah.
It's just that
doesn't really feel correct.
It's those like parts of like Pennsylvania that are just woods and mountains and
and then you go down into West Virginia and it's just like not even the same.
Well, that's why like I've always said like parts of Pennsylvania feel like just like Northwest Virginia. Yeah. Like there's no difference.
Absolutely. I agree. There's a lot of nothing in the middle of Pennsylvania for sure.
Yeah. Like I can only imagine like with the scene in Pennsylvania, like how like weird it is. I got a friend who I've been trying to get to go to independent shows, but he lives in Harrisburg, and it's like, you know, you're kind of close to Philly, but not like that close. You're decent amount away from Pittsburgh, so like, what do you have?
Yeah, that's rough. I don't really know what's in that middle area, and it's like, it's a big state. There's a lot in between Pittsburgh and Philly that I don't think a lot of people realize. So yeah, that's true. It's like once you get in the middle, there's really like nothing.
And then you like, obviously I don't know what like New York State like territories are like, but I know that there are working on like stuff in like Harrisburg. There's Alberto Del Rio's ring announcer lives in, I guess, like around that area now.
Yeah.
And he has his own company and everything. I think Main Event were just there.
Gotcha. Well, it's nice to know that like there's things growing in that area. There's always room for like places to grow, of course.
Yeah, especially
in that big area of nothing. Yeah,
that's what I was about to say. Like, kind of spoiled here in like for us in Northeast Ohio, to where like Pittsburgh's really close. Obviously, we have everything here.
Right.
And then there's other places that I feel like aren't that far away, but like you still have like a lot of good choices, like not that far. Or even like when stuff show up in Columbus.
Area to get to a lot of good things for sure.
With debuting in AIW, how have you dealt with those interactions with the fans, because they are so fun to watch?
I don't know. I don't really like think about them much, obviously, because I don't know. It's just a lot of like feeding off of other people's energy. And I explained it the other day as like the scene in Midsummer where Florence Pugh starts crying and then all the girls start crying around her, and it's like a weird therapy session and they all just feel better after. That's kind of how I see it.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else sees it as that, but that's how I see it. And also, we're very lucky, and I think that a lot of people understand that, like, AIW fans specifically, like, know better. A lot of people in the AIW crowd sort of understand the show and the spectacle that's being put on, and the fact that they can sort of be part of that spectacle if they want to. I get as much people that will like motherfuck me in the ring. I think they're pretty like, I've never had a problem with people that don't come up to me afterwards and are like happy to see me. And I think I've gotten pretty in tune with like understanding where I am and how I can interact with a crowd like that. Because at AIW specifically, and a lot of things in that area, because I think because we just all, there's so much wrestling around us. We're so able to be a part of wrestling shows, or fans are, at least. There's so many, they're true indie wrestling fans that understand that it's an immersive product. But not all places are like that, because wrestling is like a scale of real and not real. And what is it, Eden? So, yeah.
The way that I always liked that you described it was how you're like a chihuahua.
Yeah, I feel that for sure.
And
I think that's the best description still.
And like when you have those moments, it's just like a chihuahua that's like just barking.
Yes.
Like I
really channel those times when my dog starts barking at something, but then like just gets themselves worked up and keeps going, even though there's nothing left to bark at. He just like keeps going. I definitely channel those moments where it's like the littlest thing that it's just like you can keep going from it forever if you want to, if you just work yourself up enough. Yeah, absolutely.
I still think one of my favorite moments is watching some of the friends and family of the AIW students come up to you and like apologize, and like you force them to shake your hand and say that they would never do that shit ever again. That was awesome. I appreciate people that are apologetic. It was totally fine, but I don't know. I like to make sure people, there's a certain point that we all understand that is too much, especially if you're in the crowd and starting to annoy other people in the crowd around you.
That's the point where I'm like, okay, you can't be like this anymore. But yeah, I don't know. But I also understand that it's such like a strange environment. And if you've never been there before, you don't fucking get it. Like, we're all just like adults yelling at each other for no reason. So if you've never been there before or understand the spectacle of what's happening around you, I get it. But, you know.
It kind of reminds me of, didn't you go to a Browns game and like as a total outsider? Yeah,
that was the first football game I've ever been to in my life.
Ever? Like not even like high school football? Oh, I mean, you were homeschooled.
I was, but also, I mean, yeah, I think I went to a couple like football games, maybe like as a child, maybe like very young school football games. But no, I've never been to like a football game. So, yeah.
So it's like not only were you an outsider of just the fandom of the sport, but obviously you're from Pittsburgh. So like that's just reading some of your tweets from that day was kind of interesting. Where I think you were just like, all you guys do is bark or something like that.
It's funny. It's funny. I don't know. No, it's a very funny, interesting experience. I loved it. It made me want to go to a Steelers game because obviously I've never done that before. But yeah.
Yeah, there has to be someone that'll take you to a Steelers game because I mean that.
Oh, absolutely.
I would love to
figure it out.
I would love to hear your notes on that because it's like when you said like all you guys do is bark, I'm thinking, yeah, all Steelers fans do is wave towels.
At least it's silent. It's quiet. I don't want to hear noise.
There's times that I get that, so it's hard. It's hard for me to like contradict it because I'm like, yeah, like sometimes you know what, silence is better, but
sometimes it's just you can wave the flag without saying anything.
Yeah, I guess we don't really have anything like that.
No, it's all dumb. It's all goofy. I get it.
But yeah, that's probably like similar to what you have with some of these outsiders that come in, like friends and family of these wrestlers. Even for that show behind me was the friends and family of the referee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think after the show, they were like, yeah, that was awesome. And I'm like, she's like, I always think like hearing like that is like really cool. Just hearing someone who never experienced an independent show for the first time. And she's like, wow. And I'm like, yeah,
because it's so much different. It's such like, it's such a different experience, especially, like you've been to enough independent shows to know that it's like, depending on the place, not to say any place is like worse than others, but sometimes places are more like you personally feel more like, wow, that was a great experience. It all like really depends. But, yeah, I think that's really cool when someone who's never, because indie wrestling is such like a wild thing to experience blindly.
Yeah.
So it is really cool to like have people come out and be like, wow, that was really fun, because it does kind of have like connotations of being lame around it.
Yeah. And I think too, there's just this idea that you think that, okay, you know, there's the big league WWE, now AEW too. And like that, you know, that's on TV and there's,
everyone thinks that's it.
Yeah. And then like everything after that, like under that is more like, I don't want to say backyard wrestling, but like, just like, there's no like, it's like all lackluster to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that from
you expect to see like a WWE show and then you go into like the Odeon. That's absolutely very jarring completely.
Yeah. And
so, yeah, it is cool to see people that maybe weren't so knowledgeable of what indie wrestling is like in comparison and enjoy it for sure.
Because like, just, I know even from my point of view of when I first got into independent wrestling, like before that point, I was just more like, these are the minor leagues. Like, I don't really care about that. Because I know for regular sports, like I don't really care about a lot of college and minor league stuff. Like local minor league baseball, I'll go to the games, but I'm not like heavily invested into it.
Right.
So I kind of had that kind of stigma with independent wrestling. Then I started going to shows and I'm like, oh, like, I mean, are they the same type as a WWE? No, but
no, yeah.
Like a lot of shows, there's like no real bad seat in the house. Like you're closer than you would potentially be at any WWE show.
Absolutely. It's much more of like an intimate type of experience in wrestling, which is kind of crazy considering like what wrestling is. So I can see how it's not for everyone. Like if you walk in and you're like, I was expecting WWE, you can be like, fuck this for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to see people that gravitate towards it. And I see that a lot like with Enjoy as well. There's just like certain places that also help sort of bring in outsiders, like have a sort of just like feel about them that isn't totally about the pro wrestling and can help sort of like gravitate people that might be kind of unsure about it.
I know I want to go to an Enjoy show. It's just finding the right weekend for me to go. But
right.
I do like that they have popped up because like some of the talent they bring in, you know, I'm not necessarily going to see in Cleveland or other places. So to have that kind of like place to go to, even though, you know, as far away as I am, but I'm still close enough to like, that's not a horrible drive for me. So
right.
I know, cause like you are someone who like really sings the praises of Enjoy. And like, I've seen a lot of stuff and a lot of people that I like go there. So eventually I want to cross that off.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think that it sort of brings in a very different kind of like vibe. It's not just an independent wrestling show. And because of that, it can help bring in a crowd of people that maybe don't know as much about indie wrestling. And then they get to see all of this like really cool production and see wrestling like at a really, I guess, high value level, or just like making it look really good. But like you said, you're still so close to the action. And yeah, it's like it brings in a lot of different demographics rather than just like indie wrestling fan, I think.
How much fun did you have at the Halloween show? I
had a lot of fun. That show is super fun.
Like just the concept of everybody's different, like different gimmicks.
That's
just
so good.
I even think I made the comments before of like, I do love shows where like when music hits, like you don't exactly know who's coming out. So like this was like another level of.
Yeah, like, no, I agree because I'm the same way. I like that like level of surprise. I still think one of the coolest things AIW did was when they came back, they did those 2 shows where like every match was a mystery. I love that shit. I understand that it's like a huge gamble as a business person, but I think that's like so fun. So yeah, to do it on a Halloween level is super cool.
I've always wanted to go to a Halloween wrestling show, but like AIW never ran one. Other companies I know wouldn't run like necessarily like a Halloween theme. So like when they did this, it's like, oh, this is interesting. Right. And just to have like some of
it had a gimmick. A lot of shows like Halloween shows don't have like a gimmick behind it. So it was fun, super fun.
Or like some of them I know have like gimmick battle royals where everybody is like dressed up in like some costume, but this just having this feel of you don't know what everybody's going to be doing, especially too when there was a lot of wrestlers in masks. Like, well, who's that normally? So that was
it's fun.
And I think all the tag matches of the night like killed.
Yeah, that was a really fun show, and I think it also those are opportunities to obviously be a little bit different and not have to be in like your normal serious or more serious role because it's a fun little Halloween show. I thought it was a really cool. It turned out really fun. It turned out really, really cool, I think.
And you were in the match with 9 to Censor, if I'm correct. They came in and
yes.
Yeah, that I was dying because
incredible.
I made a comment like when we previewed the attempted to preview that type of show. I was like, I want 9 to 5 to be there, but I kind of want them to be themselves, to be like, kind of like, because that's what 9 to 5 is, just being like, this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. But them doing Right to Censor.
Did it.
Yeah, like being Right to Censor was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was perfect.
It covered both for me. And like, soon as like the music hit, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it's exactly 9 to 5, but just like not 9 to 5.
Oh, it was so great.
Like you said, it covered both ways. Like they just showed up as themselves also, but they were also kind of not themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they nailed that. They nailed that one for sure.
And then the Gravedigger concept, if I can speak. Did you guys have any other ideas that you were throwing around, or was it just like...
No, literally, like, Derek was like, wanna be skeletons, LOL. And I was like, yeah. And then we were skeletons. I just found that suit, like, very luckily at a thrift store. It ended up being, like, a cool, funky skeleton suit. It just, like, fell into my hands. So I was lucky with that one. So I got to have, like, a cool skeleton suit. But yeah, no, we were just like, let's be skeletons.
The thing that gets me about Derek is that, or just like him in that costume, because I know he was walking around in it during the first half of the show, and all I could think of was Karate Kid. And like, it was just like, there's that perfect representation of their Halloween costumes.
I was trying to have him give the I Like Turtles kid, you know?
It was a nice combo, because I got more of that, but then obviously with the face paint, that was more I Like Turtles.
I loved that. Yeah, it was perfect. It was cracking me the fuck up every time I looked at him.
How was it to finally debut at actual Wrestle Rager? Like it was really cool. You had the one that was like, yeah, it was your first Rager, but like I don't know, like that didn't 100% feel the same, but we had the actual... It
wasn't canonically Rager. It wasn't it's not in the Wrestle Rager canon.
It was, I don't want to, that would be complimenting. I was going to say it's the Halloween 3 of Wrestle Rager, but I like Halloween 3, so I don't want to, you know.
It was canon. It was not canon. But yes, no, it was very cool to have an actual debut at Wrestle Rager at Now That's Class, because when they started doing the one at the other place, I didn't know if I'd ever get to go back and have a debut at Now That's Class, which is obviously iconic AIW territory. So yeah, it was great.
And you have a nice match with Mikey.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. It was something we both really wanted to do, and it turned out very Wrestle Rager. It happened at the perfect place. We said we're going to go to Wrestle Rager and do Wrestle Rager, and that's what we did.
What is it like to wrestle somebody that you're dating? Especially like when that one where like you guys bled.
Yeah, honestly, I can see how it would be weird. For us personally, I feel like it's easier, or at least it feels it's not bad, but I can completely understand how it could be like awkward or strange, or like seen as possibly awkward or strange. But no, I think that it makes it easier, and it's someone that hopefully you trust more than most people. So yeah,
like I don't necessarily think it's weird or odd, because like I've to the point now of me going to independent shows, I've seen so many couples have matches. Like literally the first,
of course,
maybe the first or second. I think it was the second Battle of the Sexes that AIW had. Like so many matches were people that were dating.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's a thing that like can happen, it will happen for sure.
But I never thought of the aspect of like, oh, obviously, like if that should be like of anybody you trust, that should be the person you trust the most. So yeah, I never looked at it necessarily like that.
Yeah, it felt like a little less anxiety inducing, because at least I know him well enough that I was like, okay, I trust this person. I also understand that like if something were to happen, he could like carry my corpse to the end of this match. So yeah, honestly, it kind of like lowered my stress levels, because I know him well enough to know he's competent. And yeah.
And now too, you've had 3 matches or 3 shows at Old.
I have personally done 2.
Was it 2?
Yeah. But I've enjoyed both of the matches in the times that I spent at Old, for sure. It's a very special place.
I always say that's one of the, like, I don't want to say one of the best companies, but like it's in its own class because
Absolutely.
It's not like anything else out there right now. And when Fontaine puts all that stuff together, like he gets people from everywhere. And I
yes,
truly love it.
It's people that wouldn't normally like get the chance to wrestle, but also they're wrestling as different people they would never wrestle as otherwise. So yeah, it's very cool. And yeah, I think Old is such a special place. I've had so much fun being there. And yeah, I get to meet and or see a lot of people that I wouldn't otherwise really have a lot of chance to be around.
It's almost like a nice secret of like Ohio independent wrestling.
I was going to say that it's a hidden gem for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that it's such a cool thing to check out though. I think if you have the chance to go to an Old show live, you absolutely should, because it's just such a it's such a wild experience.
And the different venues that it goes to,
very
like
cool.
Like they all have their own vibe. Like I'm very partial to the extravaganza, like something about the end of August going into that barn and watching the matches. Like it's
all the venues are really cool. I just did Detroit and that one was really cool. Like a cool little like attic of a brewery. Yeah, they're really cool shows.
I think they did a show there or the last time, or not the last time, because I think they did have to rebook the 2021. But the first time they went there in 2019, I saw it on IWTV and I was like, oh my God, like that has like the aesthetic of Old wrestling. But I think like all the venues do, so that like makes like every venue is special. But also just
and
like
they're also venues that not a lot of other wrestling, if any wrestling at all, happens in. So they're like completely different than anything. Yeah.
You're not going to, turn on another show on IWTV and happen to see that exact same barn.
Right. Absolutely. And which is also really cool. It gives it definitely that vibe that it's in sort of its own like multiverse.
Have you ever like watched back one of the old shows?
I have. Yeah. I love them. I think that they're phenomenal.
Yeah. Because I was going to say that like
the wrestling on them, like, I think like one, obviously the aesthetic and like the whole like thing of the show is really cool, but it's not just that. The matches that get put together in Old, like you cannot like overstate how good some of these matches are. And
then there's the way that like they're put together with like commentary and parts of it, if not the whole thing, being in black and white. Like it commits.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Me too. And I think as like a fan, if you are a fan, just going in and like clicking on Old, that's really cool too, to just see like your favorite wrestlers that have to take on these other personas and approach wrestling different than you always see them do, which I think is a lot of the charm of it, is just seeing your favorites do something else and have fun with it.
That's something that I really enjoyed when Cleveland had Prime Wrestling. Like not everybody did different gimmicks, but there were people that did. Some like Fontaine had, he was still Marion Fontaine, but he was more of this megastar heel. You had Eric Ryan, known as Cursed. You had, there was someone else too that I can't think of off the top of my head, but like you would get some variations, and it was like, this is cool. I think that's cool when you get an opportunity to be something different. Because it also like gives you, I would figure it'd give you a chance as a wrestler to like explore, different parts of your character instead of like having it to be where you have to kind of be the same thing or close to the same thing everywhere. You can like you want to go this way, go that way. It's fun. It's very fun to be able to have a wrestling match with a different thought process.
whether it be like in a goofy way or just in like looking at it in a different perspective. It's fun.
Where were you where there was a toilet on the stage?
That was Wessapalooza.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. It was so bizarre. They were like, this is the back room, like the green room area. It had a small table, a chair, and then the toilet was on a stage. It was bizarre. But yeah, that was at the last summer show.
Oh, holy shit. Okay. I did not realize that was at that venue.
Yeah. It was wild. It was cute.
The Outpost.
Yes. Couldn't think of the name of the place.
Yeah, I've been to that venue. Obviously not to wherever that is, that part, but
it was honestly a cool venue. I liked the outside area, but yeah, the little green room bathroom was on a stage.
I'm trying to wonder the logistics of like how that happened. Was it like
a couple people told me reasons why it could have been like that. I think it had something to do with like plumbing. I didn't really pay attention because I just think that it's funny. But yeah, I have no real idea other than it felt very bizarre.
Plumbing makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was something about the plumbing or the way that the piping in a building like that was, I don't know. But there was a probable logistical reason, but doesn't make it less weird.
Yeah, I can't imagine like, using that thing and then
you're on a stage.
Yeah, it's like so much room in it. Like,
it was a really big little bathroom area too. So yeah, it definitely felt like you were on a stage.
Yeah, that's wild. I can't believe that's at the Outpost. The cool thing, like you mentioned, like how you like the outside part.
Mm-hmm.
I swear that's something more recent that they've been doing of having stuff outside.
I think that I think they mentioned that it was a more recent thing.
Because like I've been to that venue, a good handful of times, and like they're all like everything is always in the building,
right?
And 2 of those times has been an ICP concert. So like,
love that. I love that.
The only thing that sucked about it, because that place is so small, like the Fago didn't go nearly as far as you would if it was like outside. Yeah, literally. I have pictures of like after the concert, there's just like this pool of Fago in front of the stage.
Because yeah, it is a really, it is a tiny place.
Mm-hmm. And then I think it was like a handful of weeks right before that show, I went to a Metallica tribute band concert with my wife and her dad. And like, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be inside. Oh my, this is going to suck. And then we pull up and it's like, oh, it's in the back. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So when they announced Wessapalooza, I'm like, okay, hopefully this is outside too. Cause
yeah. But yeah, it was, it's a really nice big outside area.
I know you're into true crime.
Mm-hmm.
How much have you gotten into either the old episodes or even the new episodes of Unsolved Mysteries?
A bit actually. I've watched a few of the newer episodes. I love them. They're wonderful. The old ones are also obviously always gems, but I think the new one's pretty good too.
I have one episode to watch on the new season. I have the very last one to watch, and it's so crazy that some like crimes have gone unsolved for so long. And then what I bring up to people of like when it comes to like the original, like when you go back and watch those episodes on Amazon or I think you can get them on YouTube, like most of them are updated. If something's changed, they'll update.
Which I think is cool. It's great that they do that.
But when you come across those ones, it's like, oh, this is going to have an update. And there's nothing. It's like, oh shit.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah. Then I do the thing of like, all right, like I like Google the case.
Right. Oh, always. Of course.
Cause like there's so many times where it's just like, okay, it's unsolved because they believe the person who committed the crime died. I've heard or read that one like a handful of times. And then there's ones that, they're just flat out cold. Like I found out, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like not too far, actually right down the road from the Outpost, there is a gas station, and there was an unsolved mystery from that gas station back when it was called the Duke, where a guy came in and I don't know if he robbed the place or whatever, but like he shot the guy working and left, and like the whole thing might have been like close to 7 minutes long, and he got away with it, and they never found who killed him.
Jeez, like they never found the guy that robbed the place and shot him?
Yeah, they don't know. And it was like, I want to say early 90s, so it's like that old camera footage where it's just like a picture every so many seconds.
But like there was footage. It's not like it was like...
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always... those are always crazy. But also, I think that when you watch back the old Unsolved Mysteries and like see the updates, it does also give you a show of like how Unsolved Mysteries has really elevated and helped a lot of cases come to justice. For sure. But yeah, there are those ones that are just like straight cold, or it just like, definitely I've seen a big one from old ones that I've watched and Googled that they think the person's dead, which makes sense because like now after so many years. But yeah, it does also show how many episodes do actually get helped from being on Unsolved Mysteries. It's a huge thing.
Yeah, like that with the new series that they've had of it. I think some of those could get solved, but like nothing's been solved yet. Like there's like some of the newer season where the dude from Michigan, his girlfriend kills him and chops up his body and leaves parts of his body scattered off of 75 in Ohio. Like I watched that and I'm like, oh, like you got everything of the person. Like she's gonna get caught eventually. Like
of course. What, like she was just still on the run?
Yeah, like it was. They didn't have all the evidence when she was like arrested for it, but they couldn't. It was they couldn't book her.
They needed more.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a big one too. When it's like they know almost for sure who did it, they just don't have enough evidence and need people to call in if maybe they saw something or like found something, because if there's like one more person that said they saw them at a certain time, or someone that like found the weapon in their yard at a certain time, that's something that can like finally get that person put to justice. But yeah, a lot of it is absolutely people where it's like, we know who did this, we just don't have enough evidence. Like Casey Anthony, who now is getting her own Peacock show as an interview.
That is still so wild.
That is the first like true crime case, like very big like media circus true crime case that I remember in my lifetime, or at least one that I remember paying attention to in my lifetime for sure. So it is crazy to see it come back around.
Okay, yeah, because you probably weren't old enough for like, or even born for O.J. Simpson.
I think, yes, I was like very, very young.
And then still too young for JonBenet Ramsey.
I think JonBenet Ramsey happened in 96, which was the year I was born.
Okay.
But that's also one that fucks me up.
Oh.
I think that's a one that fucks everyone up.
Mm-hmm. Like, let's see, that was 96. I was right around 10 at that point. And so like JonBenet wasn't that much younger than me.
Right.
Like maybe from when I was 10, it seemed like a lot, but like as a adult, it's like, yeah, like that wasn't too far. So I just every so once, like double checking any updates or just reading more up on that case. It's like so fucking crazy.
It's like hard for me as someone that like does ingest a lot of like true crime, or even like just I watch a lot of things on like criminal psychology and things like that. I usually have a pretty good sense of like what I think happened, at least, or like what could have gone down. I think everyone does, but we're all hit with those like few cases where you're just like, I have no fucking idea what could have happened. And that's one of those where like for everyone. There's truly no because there's so many like twists and turns. There's so many possibilities, so many people that have done weird shit. And then when a case gets like to a point where it's too big, then you get people, and especially because of like gross people and the fact that JonBenet was a beauty queen, you got so many people that would call in and for some reason wanted to like take the quote unquote glory of saying that they were the person that did it. So you end up with things like that. The same thing happened to Zodiac, where so many people were like, I am the Zodiac killer, but they weren't. They just wanted to be the Zodiac killer because they thought it was cool. But yeah, absolutely.
What do you think happened to JonBenet?
That's one of those ones that I do. It's really hard to have a true idea. And also okay, not like I think that they're going to be watching this. They're not like going through, like digging through everything that mentions them. Because I was going to say, I'm scared to say it because they're known for suing people. Like the family is known for like hardcore suing every single person that like says anything bad about the family. But like, they're not going to hear this. No. So whatever. I think the brother did it. I think that what happened was, I think the little brother accidentally killed her and then the family tried to cover it up. Yeah.
That's kind of what I think too.
The main thing that really time to turn into my true crime podcast, everyone. I'm taking over. But I think the main thing that one, if you look into it, the ransom note, that's fucking crazy. No one stole a kid and then sat in the home, wrote out like a 4-page ransom note, and then was like, okay, here you go. Because it was like confirmed that it came from like a pad of paper and a pen that was in the home. Also very heavily confirmed. Well, not confirmed, but very heavily speculated that the handwriting was very similar to JonBenet's mom. So that's the first thing that I'm like, there's no way it was someone that broke in, did all that. Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
I just think at this point, logistically, it makes the most sense that it was the family. But yeah, like I saw a thing where, because she had what people always assumed were like taser marks, but it also matched up with something that like the brother's like toy train. So they thought like maybe the brother accidentally hit her on the head or something like that. But yeah, I think logistically it just has to be the family because nothing, I don't know. That one's a crazy twist and turns though. There's a lot to the JonBenet case.
Well, that one, if you're also suing everybody that says anything bad about the family, like they seem guilty.
Right. But it's very sketchy behavior. And I think the longer it goes on and the older that the brother gets, he becomes increasingly more sketchy. If you like watch interviews as he progresses as like an older person, he just seems like, I can't like professionally psychoanalyze anyone, but if you've ever watched like interviews of the brother as like older and coherent, he just seems kind of unwell. I mean, obviously he comes from such like a terrible situation. There's no way he could grow up normal after that, but I don't know. It's sketchy. And then, yeah, I think after the mom passed, the dad and brother became increasingly more sketchy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I have to deep dive back into her. It's been a while.
Yeah, same thing for me. Like, I forget how long ago that I like looked up a bunch of stuff because sometimes like I'll either forget certain things or I just want to get refreshed on that. Because like, I mean, that's one of the biggest crime things that I first remember. Like I remember O.J. Simpson, but like that was well, I can't say they didn't know who they knew who did it, but it's like he was on trial. But like this was the first. That's like
another crazy story. I mean, obviously, like O.J. Simpson, you did it. You did it. You killed them. But that's also like another story that really shows if like the evidence is not there, no matter how like blatantly obvious it is, you can't. if there's any way that you can get out of it, if you are rich enough and have a good enough attorney, you can get out of it.
I kind of subscribe to the theory that his son did it.
I can also see that.
Because I forget the details, but there's like certain things that like line up, and like the way things were handled, like after the body was found or whatever, like there was a lot of legal stuff done with him before OJ. So it was like I
also think that, like, obviously the situation, like, and the trial, when you have such a media circus trial like that changes so much about a case and how you go about it.
Oh yeah.
It's so hard to get the exacts and give all of the details when everything is in like the court of public opinion and in the media, whether it be the correct thing or not. Big cases like that, and like John Bonet and Casey Anthony, those are like, you can't, like, I can only imagine how much harder that makes it and how much different you have to approach a media circus crime or a media circus of like a trial.
Then though, like, I feel like we get the opposite effect on certain ones where it's like you have certain trials that happen and then somehow later on they become bigger deals, like everything with Making a Murderer. Right.
The Serial podcast, Adnan Syed. Yeah, absolutely. There's things like that too, which, yeah, that's another, like, the unsolved mysteries sort of vibe of just the media and having the ability to sort of like elevate these cases that people think need another set of eyes, and having the public behind you and things like that will enhance so much, obviously.
I don't know about you, but I think in between Unsolved Mysteries and the O.J. Simpson trial was like the beginning of an infatuation with true crime. You probably add in the John Bonet thing, and that like was a trifecta of. Absolutely.
Those, like, I think I watched something recently about how that was sort of the beginning of the era of true crime, and when like court TV became a thing and stuff like that, where people were more wanted that on their television. And then you go a couple years beyond that and you have like the Michael Jackson trial, things like that truly make people want to look more into whether it be the crimes itself or like into the trials and court TVs and stuff like that. But definitely that was probably a trackable beginning, I can see.
I forgot about the Michael Jackson trial.
Yeah, honestly, that was the first televised, like, I do remember that one, but a lot more vaguely. I was still very young when that happened, but I do remember it.
I think I was in high school when that happened, because one Halloween, a friend of mine dressed up like Michael Jackson. Or no, he didn't dress up like Michael Jackson's mugshot. We did a pumpkin decorating contest at our vocational school, and we did like his mugshot.
Yeah,
as like
I love it.
Way it was decorated, and how like not the regular just the picture mugshot, but there's the one that has like all his information. Like that's what we did.
Right, amazing.
I kind of forgot about that until you like took me back to that. I'm like, oh man, because I always think of that, and I think of like the people outside the courthouse when the verdicts were read, that they were releasing doves, I think, for every not guilty or something. Like I just have that vision, that picture or that video in my head of them doing that.
Yeah, it's such a wild time.
Oh, the 2000s.
Yeah, that was a very 2000s thing to happen.
All right, let's start to wrap this show up and get into the Fave 5 questions.
Okay.
Hey, this is Booker T, 5-time champ, and this is the Fave 5 questions. Now, can you dig it?
So you have already answered some of the questions I have on this list, but
that's okay.
We have plenty of others. So let's go with, how do you take your peanut butter and jelly, whether it be the kind of peanut butter, kind of jelly, and kind of bread?
Honestly, I'm pretty I'm pretty open to interpretation when it comes to my peanut butter and jelly. It's all on what I'm feeling. Sometimes it's good on an English muffin. Sometimes just a little white bread. Really depends. I'm not picky with my peanut butter and jelly.
I've never tried it on an English muffin.
Very good.
That sounds like something to try.
You should.
Have you ever had a peanut butter and jelly hamburger?
No.
That is actually really good. At least the one I've had, the jelly was more of like a raspberry, I won't say like a sauce.
Yeah, and then I can see that being good. I can see it.
And the peanut butter, like there's a place that I go to every so once in a while that has it, and I get it from time to time. It's a good one.
Hell yeah.
All right, question number 2. Let's go with, what's your favorite game show?
Ooh, favorite game show. Good question. If we're going like traditional game shows, probably The Price is Right, because that's easiest for me to feel smart while I'm playing along. I feel like I get the most correct while watching The Price is Right. But also big fan of Fear Factor.
Ooh, that's a different one. I've not heard anybody say Fear Factor.
It's considered a game show.
Yeah, I mean, game show is it's not a, like you would say, like you said, traditional game show. So that's when we think of like
right.
Family Feud, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune,
and shit, yeah.
But it's a game. There's a winner at the end.
If you win a prize at the end, like even I consider Survivor a game show.
Oh yeah, it's
stuff like that.
I would say like Survivor's a game show, but it's like way different. Because at least with like Fear Factor, that was like those were like based in like single episodes of like the That's when the competition
just like one day.
Yeah, but yeah, Survivor would definitely be a game show too.
It's under the umbrella of game show, but definitely more than that as well, for sure.
They took it to another level of like, all right, we're gonna have a game show, but it's like gonna be a series,
right? That was like, I mean, also, I guess, no, I lied. That would be considered, I think, I consider Fear Factor still a game show, but Survivor, I think, is the beginning of reality television.
Beginning of it becoming big. Because
the beginning of the like heyday of reality television. Mm-hmm. But I guess still a lot of reality TV encompasses game show. You win a prize. You go through some shit and you win a prize. And that's a game show, basically. So
yeah. I think with reality TV show, like or reality TV, that started like the infancy stuff was like Real World, Road Rules.
Right. Yeah, I remember a while ago watching a YouTube video about like the up and coming of reality television. And I know it was that era of like Survivor, Real World, Big Brother, like that starting out for sure. That was the beginning of reality television because it's cheap to film.
Yeah.
You don't have to hire actors.
And then it hit the next phase with the Osbournes.
Right, when they would like, yeah, that's true too. That's like a different era of reality television.
Because that gave us Anna Nicole Smith.
That's not game show reality television.
That's where like reality TV can like differ, where like you have the game shows, like even MTV technically used to have a ton of reality game shows. Next.
Yeah.
That's why is that the only one? Room Raiders. Like,
MTV had a ton of those. They had, and then obviously Nickelodeon had like an entire channel dedicated to like guts and stuff like that, like kids doing game show competitions.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely the, I guess, heyday or beginning of it.
All right. Question number 3. I think I know your answer on this, but we'll go a little more in depth. Coffee or energy drinks?
Honestly, if I had to pick between the two, I know I do energy drinks more, but I do prefer coffee.
Okay.
Energy drinks are just, like easier to pick up and get quick and stuff like that. But I think like if I had the options between the two, definitely coffee.
I think what I've realized with me, like the one reason I don't gravitate towards coffee, like I can drink it, but in the traditional sense, I don't like hot beverages.
I don't really for me as well. But if I make them at home, like if I make a hot coffee with like my Keurig and stuff like that, I can do it like I can tolerate it a little bit more because it doesn't come out like molten lava hot like when you're like given something from Starbucks or something.
Yeah.
But no, I completely understand that. I'm not a huge hot drink person either.
I know people could be like, oh, well, there's iced coffee. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. Like when I think coffee, I think the like traditional sense of hot.
Yeah, I like iced coffee. I love iced coffee, but I do completely understand that like there's a difference.
All right. Question number 4, favorite flavor of Pop-Tarts.
Ooh, good question. I think probably I'd say just the traditional blueberries.
That's a classic answer.
Yeah. I think that's probably it.
I know a lot of people that like the cinnamon brown sugar, and I'm not high on it.
Yeah, I'm not, in general, I'm not like, I don't seek out Pop-Tarts. Like, I'm not like a huge Pop-Tarts girly. I've never like bought them on my own volition for my home. But like, if I did have to choose, it would probably be the blueberry Pop-Tart.
When it comes to like any food for me, like I have this really bad habit of like, oh, there's something new, I have to try it.
Me too.
So like
Mikey pointed out to me the other day that I'm that bitch that whenever there's some like limited time something on any menu, I'm that bitch that they made that for. I'm the person that comes in and wants the limited time only like sandwiches from Arby's. And that's absolutely true. So I always need to try the new and weird ones too.
So like with Pop-Tarts, like when they're like, oh, here's an Eggo Pop-Tart. Okay, I got to try that.
Right.
So I'll get in kicks from time to time where I want Pop-Tarts, but it's been a little while.
I was always a toaster strudel girl.
I think for me, like adding the icing was just like too much, or the fact
is a lot,
or the fact of like, who eats a cold toaster strudel?
You can't. You absolutely can't eat a cold toaster strudel. Also, I didn't really have a toaster growing up. So a lot of times I put them in the microwave, but I don't mind a soggy toaster strudel. So it didn't bother me.
I'm trying to remember, like we had a toaster, but I want to say we might have like thrown them in the microwave more. That's another reason why
I don't think I'm a big Pop-Tarts person is because I don't like cold Pop-Tarts. I just don't think that they taste good. But I never had a toaster, so we never bought Pop-Tarts and warmed them up. So I just never like got an attachment to them, I guess.
I mean, you could put Pop-Tarts in the toaster too. Just if they're the ones you get in the store, like don't put the wrappers in them in the microwave too, because that's a fire hazard.
Yeah, I don't know. When I just never like got older. I never got Pop-Tarts when I was younger, and then I grew up and never like went to the store and was like, I want Pop-Tarts now. So I don't know. Maybe someday I'll change.
All right, question number 5: Oreos or Chips Ahoy?
Oreos for sure. I'm a big Oreos and milk girl.
Yes.
I'm a big cookies and milk girl. Yeah. Or so for sure. And like the flavored Oreos, that's another thing where if there's like a big flavored Oreos that comes out, I gotta try it. As long as it doesn't sound disgusting.
Yeah, I think that's like any type of food where it's, hey, we have this flavored. If you just look at it and you're like, yeah, it doesn't sound good. Like, yeah.
No, but the ones that sound good, I'll definitely try the new flavors. I'm a big fan. I think that like it's a pretty usual thing now. The birthday cake Oreos.
Yeah.
Love those. Dunk those in some milk. That's my favorite.
For me, like it always depends on just the type of mood I'm in. But I do like me some Oreos. I like mega stuff. And one of the weird reasons I like it, besides it having like more cream, is I swear, and I don't know why, when I dunk those in milk, the cookies themselves absorb better. And
I get that. It holds more. It holds more milk in it. I get that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing for me. But then I had the conversation. I want to say it was with Eric Taylor, where I'm in the current mode of I prefer Chips Ahoy. And one of the things that I like about Chips Ahoy is, do I want to drink it with milk, like dunking it in milk, or do I want to just not have any milk, or not say one, like maybe I'm just not in the mood for milk. I feel like Chips Ahoy, I could do both. Like I could eat Oreos without milk, but I don't think it's as good as a regular Chips Ahoy without milk.
I'm the opposite. I think that I would prefer both with milk, but if I had to do one or the other without milk, I think I would prefer Oreo.
I mean, good thing about it, like there's no really wrong answer. Like
True.
I love me both.
They're both good.
It just depends. Just like I said, just depends on my mood. For a while, like it was a lot of Oreos, and then it became a lot of Chips Ahoy.
Damn, now I really want cookies and milk.
All right, and question.
I'm also in an area where everything closes at like 9 p.m. now. So if I'm like, I need to go get Oreos now, I will be at the cusp of getting out of the Giant Eagle. So I'll just long.
All right, question number 6 that I tailor around my guest. For you, I want you to rank the faces of Foley.
Starting from bottom. So I guess Dude Love, or Foley counts as the faces of Foley, correct?
I thought about this because I feel like
what are the faces that you count?
I was thinking of this when I thought of the question, because like technically, like in WWE, like you have Mankind and like two different versions of Mankind, but there was Mankind. Then you had Dude Love and Cactus Jack, but then you had times where it was Mick Foley. But this is what makes me say it's just between the three. It's in the name, Faces of Foley.
True, you're right. I would say Dude Love, and then it's a very close tie between Cactus Jack and Mankind. But I think if I had to put one over the other of one that influenced me more, Mankind would be at the top.
Okay. Corporate or original? We call it original. I don't know what you want to say about that one.
I'd say both. I love Corporate Mankind just because I think that he's fun. But just OG Mankind. One of the big matches and the big like Foley things obviously is the Taker Hell in a Cell match. I love that shit. I ate that up. And that was something. And just the constant not even giving moves, but just taking a beating and continually getting up and up of that match was what really made me think about getting into wrestling. So I guess I would have to say Mankind's at the top.
I'm more of a Cactus Jack person. Like that's my number one, but I've grown over the years to appreciate the original Mankind because Mankind's
great.
Like when you just look at him compared to like any wrestler in that time or kind of in history of like, all right, simple thing of he had his own music coming out and then a different one like at the end of the match. I always thought that was interesting. The fact that he was like pulling out his hair.
He was much more of a cinematic type character, which I always really appreciated. And what really got me to gravitate more in towards wrestling, I think, was like the cinematic characters like Mankind. So yeah.
I don't know what it is about that. Like just over time, I've grown more appreciative, but I think for me, it's because I first remember Cactus Jack back in WCW. I've always like really liked that character. And like every so once in a while, I'll go back and watch YouTube clips of when Cactus Jack finally debuted in WWE.
Yeah. I love it.
Like that too, of like when we took this idea that like, all right, Mankind, aka Mick Foley, has all these different personas, and like we're gonna find different ways to encompass them. And they had that like, promo package where you saw all three, and you saw like at one point Dude Love and Mankind are talking to each other, and Cactus Jack walking in the background. Like,
right, it's crazy that I think Mick Foley's an icon, and that sort of like character development is really cool. or focusing more on the character development of it all rather than anything else more so.
All right, that's it. Any final thoughts or last minute plugs before we go?
No, thank you so much for having me back. I'm glad I could.
Want to throw out your socials and everything?
Everything. I am just Ziggy Haim, all one word. Twitter, Instagram, everything like that. That's where I put out all of where I'm going to be in all of the places like that. So best to just check out my social medias.
And then the TikToks, Hi Ziggy Haim?
Yes, you are right.
Which is, it's a very interesting TikTok.
I try.
Yeah.
I do it more for myself than anything, but that can also, if you want to follow along.
I think when I see wrestlers doing like kind of like stuff like you're doing, and especially like I'm a huge fan of Shay McCoy, of like what she does on TikTok, because like, yeah, she could do wrestling stuff, but like, no, it's like she's like throwing out all these other like personality things, and like she started doing like,
I think that's the cool thing about social media is that you can use it to also sort of just go into all of your likes. You don't necessarily have to use all of it for one thing.
100% agree. And of course, you can find myself at jsummers330 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, much like you can find the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook.com/WrestlingCheers, Twitter.com/WrestlingCheers, and Instagram.com/WrestlingCheers. Email, if you so choose, desire, WrestlingCheers@gmail.com. Like I said earlier in the show, please rate, review, and subscribe your Ever This Is Fine podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, or Podbean, WrestlingCheers.podbean.com, and all of those links are in the show notes and under the link tree link. Check out our podcast friends such as Pod Van Dam, Super Fantastic Podcast, It's Evolution Baby, The IndieCast, Sobros Network, Biff Radio, GameWorks Podcast, Powerbomb Jitsu, Spotlight Series, Fully Posable, Positively Pro Wrestling, IWTV Guide, If You Catch My Grift, At Odds with Wrestling, Marks with Mikes, X-Over, the Powell Driver Podcast, Tornado Tag Podcast, the Uncut Wrestling Podcast, This Ends at Prom, and Porch Talk. And check out our other non-podcasting friends such as The Mystery Men, Redline Radio, Mouse's Wrestling Adventures, VHS Party Tonight on Instagram, Danger Zone Video in Joliet, Tennessee, Heart of Gold, Toy Hio Toy Show, Time Capsule Toys, Stay Tough, Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, JCP Designs, Midwest Territory Southern Underground Pro, and the official graphic designer of Wrestling Cheers, Moy Boy Designs. That will do it for us here on Wrestling Cheers, where everybody knows your name, especially when you're Ziggy Spice. Later.
It's the Wrestling Cheers. Get up on your feet, brightening your day in the middle of the week. And you gotta love the show. Yeah, you know it holds a title for the best podcast talking wrestling in Ohio. Finishing a cold one, take a load off. We ain't all about the prohibition like Josh, so we cheers. And then we sit back. Other shows are in the trash, kinda like they Nick Stapp. Like the name is Matt Justice, wearing all the gold. Wrestling Cheers is coming to a close. The #1 podcast going in the game. And one day everybody's gonna know the name. It's the Wrestling Cheers. This is Platinum Max, signing off. Ohio, good night. The world, good night. We love you. We'll see you next week.